And the judge in Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial is expected to decide this morning whether to throw out a portion of last week's testimony. It concerns a witness who was called after Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, finished testifying on Friday. CBS News legal contributor Caroline Polisi joins us now here in Studio 57 in New York with more on this. Caroline, good to see you. So explain what testimony may be thrown out and why.
Yeah, Chanel, it's looking more and more like that testimony will not be thrown out. Obviously, last week was all about the star witness, Cassie Ventura, star victim, I should say. She's victim number one in that government indictment. But the testimony from Dawn Richard was meant to corroborate some of Cassie's abuse. And part of that corroboration was an incident that she testified about when Diddy actually, she alleged, hit Cassie with a skillet. She was making eggs. He got, enraged and hit her with a skillet. Now, she also testified that thereafter, Diddy told her that people who spoke about these types of things tend to disappear, and that she took that as a threat on her life. The defense attorneys, rightfully so, objected to a lot of this testimony, saying much of it was hearsay. In trials, there are very strict rules of evidence. The judge is concerned that a lot of these now corroborating witnesses may be veering into hearsay, gossip. You only want witnesses to testify, and they're only allowed to testify to things that they directly saw or heard. So that's part of this objection, as well as this statement that Diddy apparently made to her. We're already seeing the defense today really try to get into those inconsistencies in Richard's testimony about whether did she actually witness this abuse or did she just see perhaps the aftermath of it. So that's kind of the issue here. The issue is the scope of the testimony. It does seem that the judge is going to allow that testimony to stand on Friday, but going into more of this testimony today, there may be sort of a tighter scope around what they can testify to.
Yeah, and I wonder, because you mentioned this, Cassie finishing her days-long stretch of emotional testimony last week, and how will her testimony then impact how the case moves forward?
Yeah, she was a very credible witness, I do have to say. Obviously testified to years of abuse. The defense is already acknowledging that this was a domestic violence relationship. The question is, can the prosecution prove that this was sex trafficking, that this was a RICO conspiracy? So you'll see witnesses this week like Cassie's mother, her best friend of over 17 years, corroborating this information about the abuse. Now, the defense is saying, all right, there were instances of abuse, but how is that relevant necessarily to force, fraud, or coercion relating to sex trafficking? So that's kind of what the argument is here. The defense is saying these are just bad acts witnesses. We call them bad acts witnesses because traditionally that type of testimony is not allowed in trials when that specific conduct isn't being charged. He's not being charged with domestic violence or assault in this case. So that will be an issue coming up. But I think it's all about corroboration this week.
He's going to get off with a lesser charge than what they're actually charging him. So far, they were charging him of sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, transportation for the purpose of prostitution. And if convicted, he will face life sentence. But so far, I don't think the case is going well because the witnesses during cross-examination, their characters are very questionable, especially when most of them already have civil cases against Diddy. Some of them are currently in court for civil cases. So which many of the juries are kind of questioning is this just a money grab? And when you cross-examine those witnesses, you find out that they were not just innocent bystanders. They're not as innocent as the media has been portraying them over the years. I mean, they try to lump in a lot of celebrities into it. Jay-Z, even some right-wing conspiracies saying, oh, Obama was involved. And he's got all these tapes of all the celebrities and politicians. Now we know all that was a lie, unless they're hiding something from us. So far, I mean, it's going good for Diddy. I mean, that's why he brought in his kids. I mean, I don't know who would do that if they're guilty. and especially the details of the testimony, the witnesses, very, very graphic stuff. But the defense has been really, really good. I mean, if you think about it, the charges that he's been accused of and the media trial so far, I mean, he's guilty if you go by the media, but during the courtroom, in the courtroom, they can't really back that up. So maybe he's gonna be convicted of something, but nothing as serious as sex trafficking, racketeer, conspiracy, transportation for the purpose of prostitution. I mean, they're not proving their case. They're not proving their case so far. This is a case of where the expectation was set so high and they can't back it up. You know, a lot of this persecutors do this for publicity. I mean, we know Diddy was a bad boy. I mean, he says he's the bad boy, and he's got some reputation. But you have to find the right witness. He's not picking up women from the street and just that are unwilling and forcing them to do all this terrible stuff. At least they haven't brought any of it for us to see. I mean, the persecution haven't brought any of it so far. Maybe they're saving it for the last. I thought that Cassie was the primary witness, was the witness that's supposed to blow everything out of the water, because there's a terrible video out there of her and Diddy where Diddy was abusing her, kicking her, and doing all this terrible stuff. So Diddy is not a good guy. He's not a good guy. But you have to prove the case. If you bring all these serious charges, you have to prove it. And it looks like this Cassie, she is not an innocent bystander. She was in on it. She loved every bit of it. Maybe not the physical abuse part, but I mean, she was in on it too. So we'll see how it goes. All right.